for listening. I'm your host, Kerrie Jordan. Welcome to our show where we hear from manufacturing and supply chain leaders who are driving the future of these great industries. Today, I'm speaking with Lauren Dunford, CEO and co-founder of Guidewheel. This is a technology company dedicated to helping factories around the world achieve sustainable peak performance through its AI-powered factory ops platform. Guidewheel is based in San Francisco, founded in 2018, and offers easy to deploy, clip on, non invasive sensors that monitor each machine's real time heartbeat, even legacy or unconnected equipment. And it gathers data to help manufacturers reduce downtime, boost throughput, and optimize energy usage at a much lower cost and in just days instead of months. Now, my guest, Lauren Dunford, is a graduate of Stanford University with both a BA and MBA. She's also a Fulbright scholar and previously worked in supply chain and operations roles, including at Revolution Foods. She co-founded Guidewheel, and under her leadership, the company's factory ops platform is often described as a Fitbit for factories. So we're going to dive into that. I'm interested in that. And it's been adopted by major manufacturers like Johnson& and Johnson and Coca-Cola FEMSA. Lauren has been recognized as a World Economic Forum Tech Pioneer and Unreasonable Impact Fellow, and has been featured in outlets such as Industry Week and TechCrunch. Her leadership emphasizes the integration of sustainability and productivity and a practical step-by-step approach to digital transformation in manufacturing. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Lauren, welcome and thank you for joining the show.
Oh, thanks. Honored to be here. This is going to be a blast.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go and get started. And first, we'd love to get to know more about you. Would you share your background and what led you to co-founding Guidewheel?
Yeah, definitely. So, most relevant was I actually kind of stumbled into manufacturing. I was obsessed with this company that was delivering fresh, healthy food to students. I applied for a role. I showed up my first day, and I had not expected that this was a manufacturing company. I had thought of food as cooking, but I put on a hairnet, walk in, and suddenly I see the production floor and have this realization that I think many folks listening have probably had, which is that everything done at scale is manufacturing. So it was the opportunity to start seeing, oh my gosh, this is such a massive piece of our world that for whatever reason, many people don't realize is such a big opportunity and lever for change. And then I was there for 5 years in a number of different roles and was responsible for our customers, our accounts, making sure they were happy. So I had a kind of experience that also some folks listening might have had, which is standing in the parking lot and having to call a customer and tell them we're running late due to production issues and you're not going to get your stuff on time. And that it was an incredible company, very well run operation, but it's just hard with real people and real materials and running lots of different things happening on the production floor, pieces of equipment. Those production delays can be a real challenge, and the frustration and even kind of shame of, we're letting you down, just something I never want other people to have to feel. So went back to Stanford, did a ton of work to align and prototype and develop the first version of Guidewheel, launch it into the world, got many great ideas coming from our customers and some suggestions that have really made it much better than our initial prototype. Everything cool about Guidewheel comes from a customer idea at some point. And yeah, it's been a fun ride so far and more to come.
Wonderful. Okay, I want to hear more about the solutions, the company itself. So your platform has been described as a Fitbit for factories. What does that mean, and what has been sort of the things that you've learned, or maybe even the surprising thing that you've discovered, about how factories actually operate when you do start to monitor their quote unquote heartbeat?
Yeah, totally. So I've now had the opportunity to work with hundreds of different manufacturers, and the traditional approach to getting visibility on the plant floor, which everyone agrees is valuable. You can't manage what you can't measure. That visibility can improve productivity, it can improve efficiency, all these wonderful things. So visibility, good. But in the past, the way to get it typically involved kind of this massive nightmare project, open heart surgery on the equipment, pulling from the PLCs, the programmable logic controllers, all of which are different across different makes, models, and ages of machine. And the thing that theoretically some people, when they think about manufacturing, might not realize is theoretically, the machines are tracking information. Yes, but on any plant floor, a manufacturer is turning raw material into product ready to be sold. And so that involves a bunch of different steps, which means a bunch of different types of equipment. And often this is big and expensive equipment. So you're not throwing it out in a single year. You're replacing a machine if it breaks down, or you're replacing it if you need to add capacity in a new area. And so there are different types of machines. You're buying second or third hand, so they might be older. And the reason we didn't go with that pull from the PLC approach is it's actually impractical for most factories on the planet. The ROI on that kind of nightmare project and the experts required and the tech stack required just doesn't make sense. What we've done with Fitbit for factories is actually realize all of those different makes, models, and ages of equipment do have one thing in common. And that thing is that they all use power. They're all drawing power.
Right.
And so what we've been able to do is leverage a simple sensor off the shelf. It's something called a current transformer, clips around the power going into the machine. I have one if people want to see it. And maybe it's something where any maintenance technician has probably used this type of sensor before. Guidewheel did not invent it. It's familiar, it's non-intrusive. There's air in between the sensor and the machine. And that clips around the power, and it turns out, if you look at the little power pulses going into a machine, it's like a heartbeat. And a Fitbit can, from your heartbeat, not just tell you, Kerrie, you're alive or Kerrie, you're dead. That's not very helpful to you.
Yeah.
It can tell you if you're running or resting or in REM sleep or deep sleep, a lot of remarkable visibility. The same thing we can do for those machines. We won't tell you every single thing about the production, but boy, we can tell you the important things. Is the machine running? How much is it producing? How fast? Is it going to have a problem? So it's a start with the simple, fast 80/20, and then we can layer on lots of things. And yeah, we could even pull from the PLCs, but doing that after getting the low-hanging fruit is the flipped approach that we've taken.
Interesting. So, what do you learn when you are able to listen to that heartbeat?
Yeah. So you clip in the heartbeat. So I'll give an example of a manufacturer where I think last week my team went on site. Typically, we'll go on site to help and be there, but their maintenance technician knows everything he needs to know to clip in the machine. So
Yeah.
get those pieces of equipment live. In this case, I think it was about 20 minutes. So suddenly they're starting to stream. And then you can pull up the system on your phone, your computer. You could put big TVs up. And it's not very interesting for the first bit because you're just seeing how they're running and it's starting to come in. But then it's like the lines start to light up. And in an hour or two, you've probably seen some micro stops, some small losses of production time that you didn't anticipate. In this case, they also saw changeovers starting to happen and looking very different depending on the operator, of course, depending on the SKU and product line, but so much opportunity for cross training. And then when the shift handoff happens, that's when you start to see, oh, there's actually this loss of production. Typically, this is not every single factory, but this opportunity to have that shift handoff happen much more smoothly and not lose production time. So it's those types of things that you start to see really quickly, which are deeply unsexy. These are boring things. Start your shifts on time, have the handoff go smoothly, optimize changeovers, make sure you're capturing those little downtimes. But the ability to see them and have those insights start to populate and be surfaced in a way that people can take action on, and that the whole team can see and trust because it's the machine truth of what happened. It's not some number someone logged in an Excel sheet with a note at 2 a.m. during the night shift. That starts to result very quickly, and those things having action taken on them, and then a production increase, which of course is hugely valuable for the bottom line.
So, how did you hone in on this problem to solve when you were thinking about your company and, getting started? Why focus here?
Yeah. So we're a for-profit company, but we're mission driven. So we've incorporated as a public benefit corporation. So we've got the mission of supporting manufacturers, backbone of the economy, and having a positive impact towards climate change built into who we are, and our board can make decisions and care about it. So when we first incorporated the company, we thought we would accomplish that mission by helping with energy efficiency. So I'd spent a bunch of time out on factory floors. I had seen that people cared about energy. It was a big cost. It's often the second or third cost in injection molding or blow molding, later cost for different industries. But people told me they cared a lot about energy. I said, all right, we'll focus on helping you achieve energy efficiency. So we sold in this energy management system. People bought it, they clipped it on their machines. Those little clips were measuring the energy and very straightforwardly providing visibility to attack energy waste. But then no one used it. We looked at the usage stats and there was just, it was crickets across the account base. Oh my gosh. I was tearing my hair out, except for this one plant where two guys, Willie and Parav, were logging in all the time. And they were the ones who actually had the idea to use the electrical heartbeat, not for energy savings, which is the obvious thing, but to use it for when is our equipment running, producing, how much is it making, where are there those microstops. And so we actually got that Fitbit for Factories idea from watching how William Parav used the energy management system that we had sold them, redesigning the entire product to make that use case the easy, very straightforward thing, kind of make it very turnkey for everybody. But it was their customer idea that ended up becoming that Fitbit for Factories approach. Similarly, we had a plant in St. Louis where after we started using Guidewheel for runtime and downtime, uh, Ed in that plant said, I bet you could get cycle time. I bet you could also tell from that electrical heartbeat how the machine is running. And then we had our AI team investigate, train some algorithms, and now we've got automatic cycle time algorithms that came from that idea from Ed in St. Louis. So just two examples, but the evolution of Fitbit for Factories has basically come entirely from customers' great ideas and our eagerness to listen and pivot and learn and build the platform around that.
That's so great. So, if I can ask, I can imagine that these sensors are probably working on some equipment that might be fairly old. And I understand some might even be older than the internet. So, how do you bridge that gap between those older machines and modern data?
Yeah, I think the oldest machine in our platform today is 1903.
Wow.
Yes, definitely much older than the internet. The nice thing is that equipment still uses electricity. It pulls power, and boy, that power going in, if you're envisioning, especially the older equipment tends to be big, metal stamping, that type of thing. And so if you envision a big machine making things and it's basically printing money because it's fully depreciated a long time ago, that equipment still shows beautifully in its electrical pattern exactly what it's doing. If for some reason we want to add other sensors, a pulse sensor, a photo eye, temp, vibration, sure, we can add that too. But electricity is the common denominator and applies to older equipment, no matter where it is. You could manufacture on the moon and we would be able to track the equipment. That's the really nice thing about the Fitbit for Factories power draw approach. And what's really nice about it as well is you can have that machine from 1903 and then the modern day version, and we actually have universal apples to apples comparison because it's the universal thing across the equipment. So it allows us to do all of this incredible stuff around benchmarking and calculating and recommending CapEx or benchmarking insights that can actually help people improve, not just in their operations over time and across shifts and across plants, but learning in an anonymized way from the rest of the industry.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, such a like the equalizer of electricity in order to be able
Ooh,
to
yeah.
understand all this. So when you're working with a factory that maybe that's been operating for the same way for possibly decades, what is the biggest barrier then that is preventing them that you have to work with them in order to adopt these new technologies?
Yeah. If we're working with a team that's already doing best practices for lean, continuous improvement, Six Sigma, all of that, it's so darn easy because they have the routines in place. They're pulling the Pareto of downtime causes that are manually tracked, attacking the top cause, taking action, tracking improvement. Then we're just taking what they're doing with gut feel or manually tracked data that tends to be 50 to 75% accurate. Whenever we run the comparison, it's pretty crazy to see, oh my gosh, we were using these numbers, but it was garbage in, poison out. These were not accurate. But it's fitting in seamlessly to existing routines, shifting from gut feel to data. We love that situation. That is heaven. Things roll out seamlessly. There's typically a champion, continuous improvement roles, absolutely fantastic. And we're able to deploy and drive results really fast. The challenge comes if we don't have the routines in place for the customer as well already. If they're at the point where they haven't been tracking downtime yet manually, or they don't yet have a meeting where they're, discussing continuous improvement, that's not something that Guidewheel's product is going to change. So there's a bit of change management best practice where we aren't actually the best place to do that. What we can do is we can equip the team with playbooks and best practices. We have a great community of factory ops champions so they can learn from people in similar roles. But we usually depend on them to put those routines in place then in parallel. And that's where it often takes a lot longer or can get stuck and not succeed. If they don't have a production meeting, there's no place to talk about the data.
That's interesting. So best practices, something that you can help kind of guide as well. Can I ask, so once we get to the point where, a manufacturer has started using the technology, they've gone through, this implementation and there's been a transformation at the organization. What happens? What happens when a company has this kind of data and starts to, analyze that real-time machine data for the first time?
So having the data doesn't mean much until they take action on it. But if we're talking about people using the data, they're using it to improve changeovers or have Bob cross train with Casey on different machines that they're running. Bob is way more effective. Casey can quickly get upskilled. They're putting real time scoreboards, green, yellow, red, getting the team engaged, that type of thing. Once they start using it, then the metric that we see move is productivity, the utilization of the core bottleneck equipment per shift. And we actually run a P&L calculator so that we are aligning upfront with the customer about what is the importance level of the business. If you're already running at world class 85% utilization and we're not taking you to 86 or 87, don't do this. You found a way to to do it without technology, and great, we'll come and we'll add other value, but we're not going to prioritize that on our side, and they probably shouldn't on theirs. What we like to do is come in and say, okay, you're running at 65% or 55%, sometimes 45% when you start seeing the actual utilization. And once you see, oh, we've got a big opportunity to get more from our shifts, comparing where they are today to what world class for that industry looks like. We'll use 85% as the for this conversation, but of course it depends on the industry. And we have a lot of that benchmarking data, which is great. So we say, okay, you're going to go from 55% to eventually 85%. How are we going to get there? What's going to be the step by step, by when and how? And starting to measure that improvement in utilization and look at the impact on the balance sheet of the company. If we're partnering with a company where they're production constrained, they can run their machines 20% more, 30% more, and sell 30% more. That's driving a 30% improvement in revenue. Fixed costs of building and equipment stay the same. Fixed cost of labor stay the same because this is utilization in your existing shifts. Variable costs increase proportionately, but oh my gosh, your profit with that improvement, with a 5 to 10% improvement in utilization can often double profit. I was looking at a customer earlier today where they were going from 6 million to 21.5 million in profit to the bottom line. And that's because that smaller change in revenue has such an outsized impact on the bottom line. So once people start using it, that number going up is actually what we measure ourselves against. Bottom line impact, it should actually show in the P&L. These can't be theoretical savings because theoretical savings actually don't help anyone. And then we're in trouble over time. And that flywheel of, hey, let's share some of that potentially with the operations team. Let's be able to raise wages or increase bonuses that allow us to retain people even more means that we have better teammates on the floor. Safety improves because the majority of safety incidents come when people aren't trained or are newer. So we've got that flywheel start to go, and then we're able to use the data even more because we have people hungry for it who are experienced on those machines, not coming in for the first time. So that flywheel starting to really move to get the business to actually be quite different. I had a customer tell me the other day that Guidewheel has transformed the way that they do business. And this was a Fortune 100 company. That makes my day. That's seeing the numbers play out and then the impact for the people at every level. It's exceptional.
Incredible.
That's not 100% track record because it's hard.
Yes.
But boy, when we have those right ingredients of a team who wants to improve, it can be magic.
Incredible, incredible. Sustainability. Now, I know that this is very important to your business. And, there could be some perceptions out there that productivity and sustainability are at odds. How do you address that? And also, if you could share, what does sustainability mean to Guidewheel?
So we think about sustainability as where's the upper right hand quadrant of good for the bottom line and good for the planet, whether it's emissions reduction, which is usually what we concentrate on, or energy efficiency. We only look at that quadrant because there's so much stuff in that quadrant that can be acted on today. And that quadrant means it pays for itself or has a strong ROI and has a benefit. So we tend to not start with sustainability because if we start with sustainability, it's very hard to get adoption on the plant floor. And it's very hard to drive the kind of impact that turns into that beautiful flywheel. Controllable downtime, perfect place to start because it impacts, thinking of myself standing in that parking lot having to call people about production issues, it impacts production and day to day to start, okay, on time delivery, productivity improves, all those things that the people on the plant floor care about first day to day. A factory is on the planet to produce things and make money doing it. They're not on the planet to save energy. So we start by, okay, what is the goal for each person coming to work and how do we fit into that? And then it's wonderful to watch once we're in those workflows controlling downtime, people start looking at the power draw of the machines because we have that in the system. They say, oh, wow. I was looking at one yesterday where it was two different braiding machines. And one of the braiding machines was running about the same amount of time as the other, but using 50% more energy. Okay, let's learn about that. Is that something that could be maintenance, needs, lubrication, and suddenly it starts running a lot smoother? Yeah, there's a lot of small things. Those things tend to add up, but they're very hard to take action on if it's not part of your day-to-day routine for the team's actual job. So getting embedded in those routines and then layering in sustainability and those additional energy cost savings is what we always our approach. The benefit then starts to come as well for sales because there are more and more industries where being able to track the actual kilowatt hours and carbon emissions per unit of output is actually quite valuable. Customers are wanting that. They want to track their scope 3 emissions, especially big companies. And so it gives the sales team of our customer an additional advantage to say, hey, if you want to track this, we can. Most folks don't want it today. It's not like a criteria for doing business, but increasingly over time, that's gonna come. And so being prepared for that and proactive positions them with their customers as these are suppliers we can work with for the long haul, which is super exciting. I'll add one just example of our perfect scenario. So Walmart had us me speak with a couple of different customers on their supplier conference the other day, and so I was prepping with the customer for the call, and we prepped and they shared, oh, here are some stories I'd love to share. And then at the end of the call, the person, Michael, he said, oh, Lauren, by the way, I need to tell you something. Okay, what is it? And he said, we've been using Guidewheel in a way I don't think you would expect. And we think other customers should know about. I said, okay, but what is it? He said, we're using it to save energy. And that was perfect because we had started with them around downtime. We're now completely embedded into their routines. Every operator on the floor, they've got scoreboards up, Sidekick, et cetera. Now they're starting to take action on the energy and it's bubbling up from being able to see that information versus being, push from above. I just think is the best.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I understand that you've raised millions of dollars, and many of them are from climate investors, like climate focused investors. How are you balancing then the commercial success with the climate focus? But it kind of sounds like that is related based on what you just shared because they saw that success in their business,
Yeah.
but it was actually also impacting the climate, reducing emissions, allowing them to reduce their energy usage. That's really interesting.
Exactly. It's all in that upper right-hand quadrant of good for business, good for the planet.
Hmm.
Reducing downtime also, it's often reducing changeover time when machines are idling in between different types of product, startup time when they're idling before the shift starts. So there's some natural improvements just from the productivity piece, but then those energy improvements from conducting the right maintenance for your compressors and chillers, we've gotten tons of utilities also to look at our customer base and say, oh, because you have the monitoring and verification in place, we can actually fund your upgrade of your cooling tower that breaks down every other day. And it's like, okay, great. So we're just basically harvesting those quick wins and saying, let's start with the things that are no brainers, should happen, And let's not let the fact that there are 100 different things that could happen over time get in the way of us doing those no-brainer things first.
Yes, and actually, if we could go back to the sort of commercial success, not just of those companies that you are working with, but of your own, of Guidewheel, would you share a bit about your investment strategy, the future trajectory of the business?
Yeah, we're building the real-time layer that we hope could be real-time layer for every factory on the planet. So this is something where the uniqueness of the approach and the scalability allow us to take advantage of the fact that AI is improving and AI improves with data. And so the more data that we can get and operationalize from more real factories, the more powerful Guidewheel gets. And getting that kind of positive flywheel of going of more customers make the platform more valuable, which allow us to get more customers, has been remarkably successful. So we've been very intentional and thoughtful with the investors that we bring on board. We've we have a small, tightly chosen board, mission aligned, really values aligned as well. So care, data driven decision making, growth mindset, those values are really important to us. And we made a list of people that we were open to speaking with as part of those fundraisers, and then only spoke with those people. And we're lucky at each round to have our pick of people to work with. And I just cannot speak highly enough of the board and the investors that we've been able to bring on board. So very, very lucky in that.
Incredible. You mentioned AI, and we were talking about AI in the context of the Factory Ops platform. How are you leveraging AI? How does the data that you're collecting impact the AI, and what does this mean for your customers?
Yes. So it all starts with the customer. What's going to be valuable to them? The ways we leverage AI are starting with the most important use cases for our customers. So, first, let's leverage AI to make it real darn simple to get visibility. When you put that Fitbit on, have it automatically calibrate and automatically tell you what's going on with your machines. Have the ability to train it. So, like an image recognition AI can recognize this is a cat, this is a dog, this is a horse. We're looking at the patterns of that Fitbit data from the machines and saying this is running at full load. This is XYZ speed, auto calibrating those cycle time algorithms that were originally suggested by Ed in St. Louis. So that's number one, is just let's make it smooth and easy to get visibility. Second is let's drive even more value for our customers. So one way that happens is anomaly detection, being able to predict bad things before they happen. That's very straightforward. In this field of predictive maintenance, many people have done that before, so it's not terribly unique. But boy, it's really nice to have as part of your existing productivity system. We have an algorithm called Scout that then starts looking for all the different heartbeats, predicting when there's a problem, et cetera. Eventually, what we want Scout to get is prescriptive. So with all the information about what people do with the data, not just saying, here's a problem, but here's a problem and here's a recommendation, 1, 2, 3, of what to do about it. Very timely as smart people with tons of information locked in their heads retire or leave manufacturing. If we can get that into a consistent and dependable system. Third thing is we look for other ways to drive meaningful value for our customers. So I'll give a sampling here, benchmarking across extruders, compressors, chillers, whatever those pieces of equipment might be, benchmarking across industries, because we now have so many customers in these industries, whether it's steel, plastics, et cetera. We can actually do quite a bit to say, what does best in class look like and how do you get there? And then the other thing that we can do is learn over time for each machine. We have an algorithm, for example, that does AI powered throughput forecasting. So this is something where the most advanced companies on the planet would hire entire data science teams to be able to say, here's where our production is today, here's where we're going to land at the end of the shift, end of the week, end of the month. We can do that now and democratize it for everybody. Based on that current draw of the machine, we can today say you're running, and based on the speed you're running and all the historical data that we have trained from your productivity, we can say where you're going to end at the end of the shift. And if that's below target, you might want to plan ahead for overtime. If it's above target, you might want to say, oh, wow, we can actually deliver for a customer early. And being able to forecast out and democratize access to that, very valuable when we think about small or medium manufacturers and how to make sure everyone can compete in this new world.
The way you're thinking about AI and working with customers to incorporate it into the factory floor is so compelling. And it's really interesting. I can imagine that not only would the workers who are currently there find it fascinating and ease their job as they're being empowered to work faster, more productively, and see the impact of the business, but maybe new hires, maybe that next generation of those entering manufacturing would also find this really interesting. What is Guidewheel doing when it comes to helping to encourage the next generation and attract the next generation of workers in manufacturing?
this is so important to Guidewheel and to me personally. So entire TED talk, basically trying to design a tool to help pull people in. And then from our side, there are still many plants where folks will show up for work their first day and they'll be handed a pencil. That is not the way to attract and pull in this next generation. If they can come in and be given tools that are easy and intuitive and delightful, like the tools they have in their day to day lives, and that give them the context and knowledge that allow them to be productive right away, that's the contribution we want to make. So it's leveraging that amazing knowledge that exists, pulling it into the system and making it simple and actionable and delightful for the plant floor where we fit in. Our entire product engineering and then our entire AI team, actually, I think most of our AI team, were actually last week out at different plant floors of Guidewheel customers, talking with the operators on the plant floor, finding out where are the little frictions? What are the things that just drive them absolutely nuts where we can have a positive impact in their day? Where are the joy moments of, wow, I just crushed the goal, our shift, won the pizza party at the end of the week? How can we maximize the delightful moments? And how can we reduce friction to be able to help the whole team work together? So our approach is we believe customers know a tremendous amount. And if we can listen and watch and learn from people at different levels and from really caring, care is one of our core values about all the little things for those people and those businesses, that there's a lot there. Our job is find what's common. So a lot there where if we find what's common and build and iterate and learn and take advantage of all the ways technology is improving so rapidly, there's just so much impact we can have.
Staying. Okay, can I ask you about advice? I think that there are so many different ways that we could take this, and I'm really curious to get your take on all of them. And that is advice for manufacturers who haven't started measuring this type of data or maybe haven't started leveraging AI, but they're interested. As a business leader and a co founder of a technology company in the manufacturing space, what advice do you have to other entrepreneurs for those that are interested in getting into manufacturing in general? What advice do you have to them? It would be great to get your take on all these areas.
Great. Okay. Wow. That's like three different questions. So I'm going to start with the one of the manufacturers who aren't yet measuring the data. Just very passionate about the ability to get the information that can be simple enough to get. So not open heart surgery, not you don't want to take on more nightmare projects. Just one ERP implementation for a company.
Yes.
But being able to complement that ERP with ways of getting data that you trust and that allows your team to take action. So important. So something that's actually doable and moves the needle for the business is that combination that I would encourage them to look for. So what is needle moving and not a massive risk or disruption? And that's where there are many things. So Guidewheel, of course, is the one I'm most familiar with and spend my entire day thinking about. If you can just put those Fitbits on and understand that you have 35% more capacity that you could be selling right now, and especially in the US right now, it's an incredible market where there's probably creative ways to think about making the most of that capacity to drive additional revenue,
Mhm.
pulling in additional team, et cetera. So on the plant floor, I'd say just take a look, get that information. That is not very straightforward, and then decide whether it's a priority for you to get that additional capacity back into the business. For people thinking about what they do with their careers and entrepreneurs, I'd say manufacturing is just the best. If you're looking for a place where there's tremendous opportunity to make a big impact and do something real, don't think of manufacturing as just, tiny piece of something that happens far away. This is what makes the roads you drive on, the pipes that bring clean water, the dishes that you eat food off of, the home that you live in. It's all of these things. And I think I just growing up, I wish I had appreciated how much of our day to day lives are manufacturing. Now that I've visited so many factories and spent time and been privileged to work with all of these incredible teams, I look around and I think to myself, oh my gosh, there are aggregates in that wall. Or wow, like, look at that cracker. I've seen that being made, or that ginger snap. And just the opportunity to shape how we make the things we use and improve that and make it more sustainable over time. I think those two things are interlinked and just totally great space to come into. So I'd say everyone come into manufacturing. It's the best.
I love it. I share your passion. On being on the software side, software can be so intangible. But then when you're working with a company like manufacturers, and you then realize just how real, and they're actually creating things that we rely on every day and really make the world turn. It is a fascinating space, and I totally agree. More people should look into getting into manufacturing.
Yes. It's just best and great people. I would say
Yeah.
also more good, talented, hardworking people should get. There are so many good, talented, hardworking people, but I think people who don't want to work hard and just want something cushy, don't come.
Right.
Come if
Right.
you work hard and have a big impact. That's the type of person that just this is the perfect place. You'll be with like-minded people, values aligned. Yeah, it's such a great opportunity.
It can really make a difference, and it's a visible difference.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. What are you most excited about when it comes to the future of manufacturing?
We think a lot about the product roadmap. So we're releasing 100 plus new features a year. Our product team is designing those with our customers. That's what is one of the happiest things for me. I get to work with our product advisory group where we have customers that come and say, "Hey, we love that. We hate that. We wouldn't use that. Oh gosh, please do that." And what gets me excited is right now we're in the world of predictive and increasingly prescriptive, being able to guide, hence the name Guidewheel, guide the right action at the right time. After that, we start to get into this world of we don't want to build everything for everybody. There are such creative, incredible people in all these teams. Let's give them the platform. And so we've built Guidewheel from the start as a platform where it can push to or pull from whatever other systems you have, ERP being the most common, just push smoothly, etc. What it also does is make it easy for people to build on top, customers to build the custom application for roto molding that they wish existed, and then maybe make it available to others and developers to build apps. I was hearing about a very unique quality sign off that someone was talking about yesterday. And oh, wow, we could have the automatic machine data be the platform for them to build their own quality app or for a developer ecosystem to flourish on the plant floor and leverage all of the work that we've done to do that hard, painful, connect in the machines, make sense of that data, have great data hygiene and security and all of that. But then to have that ecosystem flourish of people building and getting creative to drive both productivity and sustainability on the plant floor, that factory ops ecosystem is what gets me excited.
Yes, there's so much to come. And I love the concept of empowering others even more, and allowing them to really create what it is that they need. And that developer ecosystem is a really fascinating concept. And I see how that could really create a lot of value going forward. Well, Lauren, was there anything that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to make sure that we covered?
Oh my gosh. I think you asked such great questions. I would just say thank you, to everyone who's in this space, to our customers, to our team. It's just so fun and such honor to get to do this together. So huge thank you. And no, this was a great set of questions.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. Well, so for those who want to get to know you more, maybe connect with you, or to learn more about Guidewheel, where would you send them?
We have guidewheel.com as our website. We're also on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to get a hold of. Message me. Let's grab coffee. I'm always out at customer sites. So if you want to come and meet up in person, that's great too. Would love anyone who cares about this space. Let's find ways to work together. There's such a big opportunity, and it's the time is right.
And you also recently did that TED Talk, which was really interesting. So we'll include the link to that as well. This is great. Thank you so much, Lauren. This has been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Kerrie. Appreciate it.
Well, that was Lauren Dunford, CEO and co founder of Guidewheel. And to everyone listening, thank you for being a part of the future of manufacturing.